There is one more part that we need to talk about, and that is how to deal with the self-talk that comes in the form of stress and pain and worry and fear.
And how to get to the bottom line of what your beliefs are, to be able to unhook from them, to be able to set yourself free to see what really is out there and what is really happening, and opening a whole new world to you.
Right. Because unless you deal with the beliefs that govern you, and again, you look at our culture, the socialization, grown men don't cry. It's a bunch of crap, right? We're taught not to cry, but the most healing hormone that comes and that takes care of us comes with tears. There's an actual chemical that releases in the body that is a healing endorphin. If you bottle up every tear you have and don't allow it to express itself, think about the damage that that's doing. So our emotions are the keys to unlocking our patterns. The emotions are the keys to unlocking and discovering the beliefs that are controlling us. So instead of being afraid of them, own them. If you're angry, own that you're angry, and then discover, what am I angry about? What am I so frustrated with? And listen to the self-talk. Don't just let the freight trains run, because we all have our songs, right? We talked about our songs and our verses and that keep going over and over and over again. Stop those. Say, halt, pause, wait. What other information do I have? What are these tears trying to tell me? And as you allow yourself the freedom to listen to the self-talk that comes, for me, I have to write it down, right? Text yourself, I don't care, Post-it note. But sometimes we have to get what's in our head out enough in such a way that we can see it for what it is, not just the mind loop that it was. So as you take time to stop and just lock on to that intuitive self, when the unwanted emotion is there, that's the key. Ignoring the unwanted emotion means you're going to continue the negative cycle. Got it? Focus on the emotion you're afraid of facing. That's the one that has the most to tell you. I look back at the situation where somebody says to me, "How are you?" And I'm immediately in pain. 7 years, 7+ years of pain when somebody says, "How are you?" And I was so afraid to face the pain, because the pain was tied to one of the biggest traumas of my life, losing my spouse, and then facing the reality of having to raise 5 kids by myself. I don't want to face that. But oh my gosh, the giddy relief when I could see all the little details that were linking that pain to that one experience, and to be able to step back and see on the paper, facing the emotion, facing the tears, facing the frustration, facing the anger. I didn't have a choice in that. I was so mad. I didn't have a choice. Rob was stolen from me, right? The microburst came in and it downed that plane, and there was no choice. I want a replay. But until I owned that anger and that fear and that pain, I was going to stay literally trapped in it forever until I face it. Think about that. I could live half of my life again, miserable, anytime somebody asks me how I'm doing. That trigger, that emotion that was coming was like a flashing light saying, "Hello, oh, hello, hello, hello. There are things for you to learn. This isn't normal." Feeling pain when somebody asks you how you're doing is not normal. Look at me. This is this flag that's waving at you. These are the freedom calls that your body gives you that says, you have within you what you need to get through this. Sometimes there's information, knowledge voids, right? Where it's important for us to maybe have a therapist or a friend or someone who we can talk to. Make sure it's somebody who's going to give you healthy feedback, not just agree with you in your little mind loop of justification for your angry, right? That's not going to get you anywhere. But dive into the things that you're afraid of, because in there is such incredible growth. I know I've talked about a lot of hypothetical, maybe it's hard to grasp, maybe it's not. But if you think of the beliefs and the way they govern us, think of it like the core inside of a golf ball. I don't know if you've ever seen one, but inside the golf ball, I think there's a whole bunch of string tucked in there, and inside there, on the outside of that is the hard part of the golf ball that's really solid and strong, and you can whack the crap out of that down a fairway on a golf course, and it's going to take a lot of effort to get into the core of the golf ball, but when you get in there and it kind of all falls apart, that's kind of like getting to the stuff that's inside you. There's some layers that you have to go through. Some people use an onion, right, as a layer. We'll call that our, we're watching some movie and I won't say which one. All right, it's Shrek. But, he talks about layers, layers of onions. Whatever it is, there are layers in our life. There's years of experience that we have to go through sometimes. So you may start looking at the pain or the fear or whatever and get partway and find some relief, and it's not totally done. That's okay. Give it time. Your body will help you know it's going to heal. It's got to go through the process. Just like a body has to mend a broken bone, and it takes time, and you have to set it, and it's in a cast, and it needs that time to heal. Sometimes emotionally, we need that same time. So have enough patience with yourself to know that if your desire is there and you're constantly searching, you will get there.
So on the final part of this is all the emotion that Kristen's been talking about her trauma, her trials that she had gone through with losing a spouse. This next part is the uprooting stress process. How many of you have had those days where you just kind of start throwing up, for better lack of words, or you just kind of go on a rant and rave? You just start throwing crap out there left and right about how crappy your day is. And you can go from how bad your day was to your room is always a wreck and you don't have time to do this. You go all over the board.
Yeah, we're not talking about throwing up from the stomach to, piles of stuff to filter through on the table and pieces apart of what lunch were. We're talking about verbal throwing up, misbehaving. We're on tantrums that are out of control or whatever it is. We're just offloading a whole bunch of emotion.
In doing that, when you are able to unload a bunch of information, you will usually find you will make key belief statements. One of my key belief statements, which I shared at the beginning, was, I'm stupid. You will start recognizing, and you may have a couple of them, but when dealing with the uprooting stress model and you get to the core belief which drives you, you then at that point have two choices to do.
Right. But before you do that, keep in mind too, my first reaction when you say, I'm stupid, I immediately want to say, no, you're not. I want to rescue you. I want to rescue you because I think you're wrong, right? I want to put my 2 bits in. So if you're talking to somebody, you've got to have a nice little stop sign hand that says, I don't need you to interject here. I just need you to listen because I'm going to get through this. Just listen. Don't try and throw in commentary. Don't do any of that. Just be patient and have faith in my ability to learn and my growth here. So sometimes we have to prep people. But anyway,
yes,
so you get to that belief, that statement, I'm stupid, and now what?
Now you're at this belief statement, and you now have to either validate or invalidate it. Those are the 2 things you have to do. You have to give all the evidence why. And remember, you have a computer that is going to tell you and give you all the reasons why, that is going to tell you why you are stupid. You may have a belief that you are not of value and that nobody loves you. Well, you are going to go when you start either there's lots of ways to do it, writing in your journal, or going to somebody and just crying it out. You're talking and they're just listening. You may come to the belief that you are not of value and nobody loves you. At that point, this is where you're going to validate and invalidate your belief. So you're going to start listing all the reasons why. Nobody shows me that they care. Nobody calls and checks on me when I'm having a hard time. Nobody ever calls me to be their first date. I'm always their last date because they can't get anybody else to come. Those are all the validations as to why I'm not loved. But then you start listing all the invalidations as to why you are. And if you can get to the place, your quiet place, where you are listening to your instincts, that is your heart of heart, you will start finding validation as to why you are of value. And then at that point, you will ask yourself, what is the truth really? And you will listen to that voice inside you. And you will then ask yourself, how has that affected me? And now what am I going to do with it?
Yeah, and the mind and the body is so powerful because we know the seeds to the solution are within ourselves. That's within you. Your body can, and your mind and your heart can give you the best solutions, better than anybody else. Who knows you better than you, right? And what would work for you and what makes sense to you than you. You are the key to your own unlocking and the key to your own success. That's the power of these principles. You don't have to rely on somebody else to tell you what's right with you or what's wrong with you. You know it's all stored there. It's an amazing, powerful tool to know your own innate sense of worth and ability. And I think that's what we lose. That's what our society teaches us. That's what all the snapshots of life, these little snippet pictures of perfection that we think everybody's entire lives are made up of, and they're not. You know, the social media that makes everything look so perfect is not so perfect in anybody's life.
And when you realize that that is your belief and that is what has been driving you and causing filters to block what the truth is really, your mind is then open. And you will then be in a situation where something might happen and you will find a trigger and you'll immediately stop that trigger and say, wait a minute, I just dealt with this belief. And what do I know about myself? What is all the evidence that showed people do care about me, that I am of value? You will then remember all of that evidence to prove your belief wrong. And you will rewrite your computer. You will determine how you decide to think. Don't let it think for you. You are the key to your own unlocking. We all want to think for ourselves. Don't let somebody else think for us.
Right. And with this intuitive relationship with yourself and others, as you apply these principles, that causes the real you to shine.